Today we're going to delve into the fascinating and enduring philosophy of Stoicism. Originating in ancient Greece and later flourishing in Rome, Stoicism offers a profound insight into how to live a virtuous and fulfilling life. Its teachings remain remarkably relevant in our modern world despite being over 2 millennia old. Throughout this video we're going to explore the key principles of Stoicism, highlighting its historical context, some notable figures, and its practical applications. Stoicism is a philosophy that in the modern world has gained a great deal of popularity, and with that has come a measure of misunderstanding. People are intending to apply the principles of the Stoic philosophy, but they have misunderstood those principles and how they actually apply to your daily life. So this video really is just the starting point for you to learn more about Stoicism, but these are all important things and you can't get into the weeds of it without understanding the overall concept. So that's what we're going to delve into today. So let's start with the core principles of Stoicism. First, we have the idea that virtue is the highest good. In Stoicism, virtue, or moral excellence, as it's also sometimes called, is the ultimate goal of life, if not the only real goal of life. According to the Stoic philosophers, true happiness comes from living a virtuous life, which is characterized by wisdom, it's characterized by courage, it's characterized by justice, not judgment, and it's also characterized by temperance. External factors like wealth, health, and pleasure are considered indifferent or unimportant. They don't contribute to true happiness, and for the most part, they actually act as a barrier to true happiness. So instead of those superficial elements, the Stoic philosophers focus on developing their character and making ethical choices. Next is the concept of living in accordance with nature. The Stoics believe that the universe is governed by a rational order. Now, before I continue, I want to add a little caveat here. So that principle of a rational and a divine order that the Stoics speak of doesn't in any way, shape or form imply a god or a creator. It also doesn't deny that either. It is separate to it. It makes no claim of God or God, many gods or whatever. It makes no such claim. It is about you as an individual and your place in the world. Living according to nature means understanding and fulfilling our roles within it. This involves accepting our place in the world, fulfilling our duties, and striving for rational and ethical behaviour. We live in a complex system. Humanity as a species is a complex system. The earth we live on is a complex system. So the Stoic principle of living according to nature really is about finding your place within that complex system and understanding your place within that complex system so that you can strive to make the best decisions possible based on rational and ethical thoughts and behaviours. Another core principle of Stoicism is control over emotions. This is probably the most famous principle of Stoicism. It is the one that I feel is also most misunderstood. Stoicism teaches us to use reason to manage our emotions. Negative emotions like anger, fear, and grief arise from false judgments. By correcting these judgments, we can maintain inner peace and equanimity. Practical applications include practicing mindfulness, challenging negative thoughts, and maintaining composure in difficult situations. It is important to note that this does not in any way, shape, or form equate to the suppression of emotion. It does not equate to being devoid of emotion. Instead, it is about managing our emotions and the impact that they have on our lives. Acceptance of fate is another crucial element of Stoicism. This involves embracing what happens to us, especially the things that fall outside of our sphere of control. The Stoics advocate for accepting fate positively, recognizing that we cannot control external events, but only our responses to them. This helps us develop resilience, focusing on what we can control, and finding opportunities in adversity. The 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism are wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Wisdom is the ability to make sound judgments and decisions. Courage is the strength to face challenges and adversity. Justice is about being fair when we're dealing with others. And temperance is about self-control and moderation in all aspects of life. So those are the core principles of Stoicism. There's a lot more that can be said on those principles, but for the time being, I think that's probably enough just to get you by, so you can build a solid foundation to move forward and think more deeply about what these principles mean for you as an individual. So now let's look at some of the more notable Stoic philosophers. I mentioned at the beginning the founder of Stoicism, Zeno of Citium. There isn't a great deal of the teachings of Zeno still around, and what remains can be best understood through the lens of other Stoic philosophers that came later, most notably the Roman Stoic philosophers. So Epictetus was born a slave, but he gained his freedom and he became a prominent Stoic, a prominent teacher of Stoicism as a philosophy. His key works include Discourses and the Enchiridion, which is also known as the Handbook. Epictetus emphasized the dichotomy of control, distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. Now, this is something that is a central point of many philosophies. Epictetus was the first to get it down on paper in any sort of notable way in this particular format. But the idea of that dichotomy of control, distinguishing between what we can control and what we can't control, is present in lots of other philosophies as well. So it is an incredibly important aspect of Stoicism and indeed many other philosophies, and it is one of the more empowering parts, in my opinion, of the Stoic philosophy. Seneca was a Roman statesman. Seneca was a Roman statesman. He was advisor to Emperor Nero, and he was a prolific writer. His works include letters to Lucilius and various other essays. Seneca focused on practical ethics, dealing with adversity and the importance of inner tranquility. As with all the Stoic philosophers, the emphasis is on the self. So Seneca tried to deal in what he felt were things that were directly applicable to life, rather than the sort of more aloof concepts that are often associated with philosophy. And next up we have Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. Yes, that Marcus Aurelius. Now, Marcus Aurelius is probably the most famous of all the Stoic philosophers, because he authored a book called The Meditations, which is a series of personal reflections. Now, the Meditations was never written as a book to be shared. It was never intended to be a teaching device. It was never meant to be read by anyone. It was really a personal diary written by Marcus Aurelius. And within that diary, he emphasized the importance of self-improvement, of duty, and the transient nature of life. Marcus Aurelius was, in my opinion, very much ahead of his time, and the principles put forward by Marcus Aurelius in the Meditations are principles that I believe apply to everybody all of the time. So now we've looked at the principles of Stoicism, we've looked at the historical context of Stoicism, and we've even had a brief, and I cannot stress that enough, very brief look at some of the more notable and well-known Stoic philosophers. Now I think would be a good idea to, very briefly, explore how we can apply Stoicism in modern life. So let's have a look at that. So Stoic techniques like reframing thoughts, focusing on the present moment, and accepting what we cannot change can help us manage stress and anxiety. If you don't believe me, then just take a look at any therapeutic practice, and you will see those principles in action. Developing the ability to remain calm and composed in the face of adversity aligns with the Stoic principles of controlling our responses to external events. Now, we've all faced situations in life where the things that are affecting us and that are getting us down are things that are coming from the outside. And it is all too easy to think, what can I do about that external thing? But Stoicism teaches us that that's not the right approach, that that's not a helpful, useful, or productive approach to the problem. Stoicism teaches us that in order to improve our lives through this situation, we need to manage our responses and reactions to those external forces, rather than waste time and energy thinking about how we can directly affect those external forces. Applying the Stoic virtues of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance helps us make ethical choices in our private, personal, and professional lives. Engaging in regular self-reflection and striving to improve your character is a key Stoic practice, aligning our thoughts, aligning our actions, with our principles. So when you think about successful people, and I don't mean monetarily successful, rich and famous and so on, I mean people that are genuinely happy. When you cast your eye upon those people, you will likely see people that engage in regular self-reflection. And more than that, they use that regular self-reflection as a tool to improve themselves and be better, be that 1% better today than they were yesterday, and so on. So the practical applications of Stoicism are deep and profound, but they are also supported by modern therapeutic approaches as well. So you could say that the philosophy of Stoicism was an early attempt at counseling and therapy in a way. At this point, I think it would be a good idea to share a quote that I find to be especially profound, that comes from the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. As I mentioned before, the Meditations, I think I did anyway, the Meditations is one of the most famous works of Stoic philosophy in all of human history. So the quote I'm gonna use isn't actually a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was quoting the pre-Socratic philosopher Heraclitus. But its presence in the Meditations highlights an important Stoic principle, the nature of change and impermanence. So that quote, and you've probably heard it before, but that quote is, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river and he is not the same man." This quote illustrates the ever-changing nature of life. Just as a river constantly flows and changes, so do our lives and experiences. This aligns with the Stoic acceptance of the natural order and the inevitability of change. It also emphasizes personal transformation. Each experience, each moment changes us in some way. Recognizing this helps us understand that we are in a constant state of becoming, shaped by our actions and reactions. Stoicism teaches us to accept change rather than resist it. By acknowledging that we and our circumstances are in constant flux, we can better adapt to life's challenges and remain resilient in the face of uncertainty. And if there is one thing in life that is guaranteed beyond death itself, it's uncertainty. And on the flip side of that, if there's one thing in life that is guaranteed to be false and mythological, it is the concept of certainty. Let me try that again, sorry. In conclusion, Stoicism offers a robust framework for living a virtuous and meaningful life. Its emphasis on rationality, virtue, and acceptance provides valuable tools for navigating the complexities of modern life. By adopting Stoic principles, we can cultivate inner peace, resilience, and a deeper sense of purpose. So I wholeheartedly encourage you all to explore the Stoic texts and incorporate their teachings into your daily lives. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in the Meditations, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. So let's all strive to elevate our thoughts and actions in the spirit of Stoic philosophy. Now, before I go, I do have a question for you. So in life, we have all faced adversity of some kind. I don't believe that anybody has what could be considered an easy life. Everybody faces adversity, everybody faces troubles and struggles in life. And when we do, and we're actually able to overcome that, in my experience, it is, whether we realize it or not, it is us applying the principles of, or at least some of the principles of Stoicism to ourselves, to the situation, and to our lives at the time. So what I want you to do is have a think about a time in your life where you have faced adversity, where you have faced hardship. And I want you to think about how you overcame that problem, that hurdle, that obstacle, that hardship. Did you, knowingly or otherwise, apply the principles of Stoicism to your life? And if you did so unknowingly, have you then used that as a blueprint for the hardships and the obstacles that you faced after that time? You don't need to jump in the comments, although I would be really interested to hear your stories of your hardships and how you've overcome them. But it's not completely necessary. What's important is you think about it, because when you reflect upon past hardships and you're able to identify the tools that you have used to elevate yourself out of that position, that then creates a set of tools, a framework, if you like, that you can use to overcome almost anything in life. So the value of the question isn't in the answer you give, it's in the reflection that you engage in. So what hardships have you faced in life, and what were the principles that allowed you to overcome that hardship and elevate yourself out of that position?